Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Hump Day Hotline. Hump Day, welcome.
Hey,
Get on it, Jay Spence. How are you, my man?
man, I'm living it up. I'm living a dream, as you would say. How's it going, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. Just the fact that there's like stuff to talk about, even if it's not always great stuff, there's at least something to talk about. But yeah, same. I'm great. Are you great? You're great. You're living the dream.
I'm great.
Awesome.
Great, man. Most of the stuff to talk about is great. There's only a couple of things that we're gonna not talk about.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of great stuff.
Top of the hour, we're not going to talk about vaccinations.
So like that's
we'll give it to you right from jump. Right from jump. We're not talking about that's personal information, and however they decide to live their lives and do what they want to do is up to them. It's theirs, and that's what it is. Good night.
You got tickets, right? You got your season tickets.
I do have season tickets. Yes.
So you're going, whether they're not there or they are. You're going to be at
correct. Correct. So I'll be disappointed if they're not there. But other than that, we are not talking vaccinations. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Multicast Network. I am one of the co-hosts. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. That's my other co-host.
I'm Jay Spence the King.
And he is the man, and you can find him on Twitter at Jay Spence the King. So what we want to talk about? Yeah, I got three things in my head right now. I apologize. I'm a little scattered. I'm trying to figure out how to segue into who did not report to OTAs, but I want to set it up first. So I got a little confused, and then I was like, and then I rethought something. Then I was like, oh, he already said his handle. Dang it! So and then I
did you find it though? Because I was actually trying to look.
Yes,
for that.
yes, okay. I'm good to go. So voluntary OTAs, and I think the key word is, and you put a tweet about this. Voluntary. Did you not?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
So break that down.
Well, it just amazes me how every single year we freak out because somebody does or doesn't show up at a OTA, and it's like, you do know it's optional. Like the word volunteer, I'll actually read the tweet. Voluntary means done, giving, or given, or acting of one's own free will. Volunteer means a person who freely offers to take part in an enterprise or undertake a task. It's optional. I can do it freely. It's not part of my job where it's like, hey, your shift is 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. If you don't show up, you're fired for a no call, no show. This is, hey, we're here Saturday, and if you guys want to come in, you absolutely can. That's what this is.
Yeah, we're gonna throw the ball around a little bit. If anybody wants to throw the ball around, nothing serious, so we're not gonna wear pads or hit anybody. But if you want to throw the ball around,
that's what this is. And you know, I know why everybody's freaking out about Aaron Rodgers. I kind of get that. I don't think it's a big deal. He already made, like, we know why he's not there. So like him not showing up isn't news. It's like, no, he's done.
He's done.
which is sad for me, man. I got everybody knows now. I got season tickets to the Cardinals out here in Green Bay's coming, and that was like a part of the attraction to me to get the season tickets, and doesn't look like he's gonna be playing.
Yeah, for sure. So we are going to be talking about OTAs a lot in this hour and taking comments and questions from those of you that are watching. So please, I'm going to switch over to the comment section. Please get your questions in or conversation, whatever you want to be a part of the show. Why do you think it is? Why is it every fan base, or is it particularly Bills Mafia that just gets a little bit out of control as it pertains to who did or did not? Like it's almost, how do I want to say it? If it's not like your girlfriend didn't show up to a date, but there's a semblance of, if somebody doesn't show up, the relationship's over. Stephon Diggs isn't here. He hates Buffalo. Right.
Right.
Why?
Like, oh my God, he wants to trade. He's a diva.
Right. Why do we do that as Bills Mafia? Do you have an inkling?
Well, it's not just Bills Mafia. I know that's kind of how you started the question off. It's literally, if you kind of try to go down the rabbit hole and whatever social network you're on, if you're on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, like go down that fan base's little world, and you'll see Pittsburgh Twitter is tripping. Obviously, we mentioned Green Bay. Every single team has somebody where they're like, oh, this is unacceptable. He should be here. And it's like, no.
Well, Green Bay's Twitter, as we just talked about, needs to be tripping. They need to be a little bit worried. But unofficial attendance per Sal Capaccio, Bills beat reporter from WGR 55. And my understanding is there are no rosters that are given out. They do not take attendance on paper. They do take attendance in their minds, and I'm sure every position coach knows who's there and who is not. And from what I gathered, I believe from Matt Perino, basically the guys go around each other and they just kind of compare notes. Who have you seen? Who have you not seen? And then they come up with a list. All the beat reporters do. But wide receiver Stephon Diggs was not there. Wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders Devin Singletary, Tywan Jones, Mitch Morse, Darrell Williams, Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, Vernon Butler, Star Lotulelei. Cody Ford is there, but he's in a non-contact jersey. Zach Moss there, non-contact jersey. Isaiah Hodgins there, non-contact jersey. And Josh Thomas there, and non-contact jersey. Of the names that I mentioned, Diggs, Sanders, Singletary, Jones, Morse, Williams, Hughes, Addison, Butler, Lotulelei. Do any of those guys concern you?
Not one.
Not one.
Not one.
There's probably two that do for me. One far more than the other.
I'm guessing Star is one.
Star is a big one. And the only reason that Star concerns me is because the last time they saw this guy was getting off the plane after the Texans playoff game. So there's a great deal for me of like, he's one of the bigger fellas on the roster. And I want to know where he is as far as body shape, conditioning, football ready. Like, he hasn't played football in a year and a half. Obviously there's a lot. He's going to come back to not a widely different football team, but it's going to be a little bit of a different football team. So to get early, connect with, AJ Epinesa, connect with Groot, connect with Boogie Basham, connect with some of these guys that are on the team, for me is important. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you heard this. It came out today on Twitter. The NFLPA is also now negotiating another opt-out policy for players.
No, I did not see that.
Yes.
I did not see that. I saw the updated cap for next season. I did not see. Wow. So what do you have the details, or should I look that up while you're talking?
I don't have any details. My guess is it's going to look very similar. If you want to look it up, you can. But the NFLPA is negotiating another opt-out policy for them. And here's what happens. This much I know. Star Lotulelei, who knows where he's at in any of this? He opted out. I heard somebody somewhere talk about the potential of Star retiring. Star retiring would be bad for the Bills. It would be bad from a cap hit standpoint. I think it's $11.5 million or something like that. If he plays, I think he counts 20 or 21 million. If he retires, it's 11.5 dead cap. If he opts out, it's 7.5.
But where is this? I'm curious. Where is it coming from though? Like, I haven't heard Star. Like, where's the rumor that Star is contemplating retirement?
I don't remember where I saw it or where I heard it. It was on Twitter. I don't remember. I need to screenshot better, because like I see that stuff and then like I log it and then I don't necessarily screenshot it, and I probably should. But and it just begs the question for me, if he is contemplating retirement, you got to wonder if Brandon Beane's like, well, why don't you opt out first? We'll take the $7.5 million hit, and then you can retire. And then you'll actually get money this year, because they pay them, right? They give them whatever it is, $175,000 up front or for the year that comes out of their salary, and then retire next year, almost to kind of spread that out. But for me, Star Lotulelei is just the biggest. He's the biggest one that I would have wanted to see, and probably size-wise as well, in weight, that I would wanted to have seen there, even if it was for a day. Show up for, hey, I'm not going to practice, right? I'm not going to practice. I'm not going to get in shorts. I'm not going to throw my helmet on. I'm going to be on the sideline, throw me a red non-contact jersey, but I'm going to be here, be with the guys. I'm not sure where Star lives. If he lives in Hawaii, it wouldn't surprise me. That's a long flight. I've flown from Hawaii to Buffalo and Buffalo to Hawaii. It's not fun. Regardless, he is a professional, and even though it is voluntary, and I'm not gonna stand on the soapbox. Is it a huge deal? No, it's not a huge deal. They know what he's going to bring, but I was watching that presser live, McDermott's presser. Were you watching it live when he literally jumped in and said, unfortunately, because I think it was Vic, somebody brought up Star, might not have been Vic, somebody brought up Star, and he literally cut them off and was like, unfortunately, he's not here. And it was like, oh, all right. Like, he didn't say that about anybody else. Just Star. Not many of the other guys were brought up, but he did say that about Star. So I don't know if you want to expound upon that. Why are you not concerned about Star at all? Like, not even one small bit.
Well, because a couple reasons. One, Star is 7-8 year veteran in the league. It's not like he's a rookie second-year guy who doesn't really know what it takes in the offseason. Star knows what it takes. And then also, it's not like Star is we know what Star is or who Star is. So I'm not absolutely. So, to Chris Jenke's point and to your point, I understand like the need to want to know what type of shape he's in. But the thing is, I could just be maybe over trusting, but I see it as a way, like, I'm sure they've seen him, maybe not in person. This whole last year, everything was done via Skype and Zoom and all this stuff. I'm sure they have seen his face. I'm sure they've talked to him. I'm sure he's working out. I just do not believe that a guy is just going to be out for a year and be like, all right, I'm gonna just be a bum completely for a year.
I think what's funny about a lot of these guys when they leave the NFL is they lose weight, and that isn't necessarily good either.
So I think the question so now I'm concerned of the opposite. Like, is he gonna still be the star, like the size and everything that we need him to be?
Right. And for me, it's just more of a health check. Hey, show up, get in the building, even if you show up on Monday and leave on Tuesday. And I know that's ridiculous and it's pomp and circumstance. There's just a measure of wanting to I want to see you with my eyes. I want to hold you, right? I want to give you a hug, see how you feel. John Herring brings up a good point. If Starr does not play this year, I'm going to be pissed because we had a chance to draft his replacement. And I would say at this point in time, any player that opted out last year, if the NFLPA is negotiating another opt-out, any player that opted out last year, there's a probability, maybe not a high one, that they're going to opt out again this year. So there's a chance they could opt out again for a second time. And those are personal reasons. And just like we're not going to talk about vaccinations and who's being vaccinated and not on this football team because of personal reasons, same thing. I'm not going to question a player who wants to opt out twice. It is what it is. It's their decision. It's their lives. This is a sport. It's a business. It's freaking entertainment. Let's slow our rolls a little bit over what these players owe us. I saw somebody on Twitter say, remember when Buffalo had star players we could look up to, and they were referring to the fact that Josh Allen won't come out and say like everybody should be vaccinated. It's like, it's entertainment, guys, and it does, like, these are their lives and they have lives. Anyways, I digress. As it pertains to Starr, there's a chance there's a probability that a player that opted out the first time may opt out the second time. I think that probability increases greatly if they don't show up to OTAs. Yes or no? Do you agree with that? Like if a player opted out last year and showed up to OTAs, they're probably going to play this year.
I mean, maybe. I just I just haven't thought about it like that, like at all. In my mind, I haven't even been concerned that he was going to opt out again this year. So that's why, like, the fact that you're bringing this up, and it could be that I've been a little unplugged with the move and all that stuff, but I don't know where, like, the rumor would have started that it's like, oh, he's probably going to retire or he's going to opt out again. I thought the last time we heard, like, after the season was over, I thought that we had like an inkling that he was, Starr was ready to come back. So
I thought so
I don't
too.
know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why I'm confused.
It all remains to be seen. The other one for me, moving on from Starr, and there's a lot of great conversation in the chat about Starr, and just he never did state why he opted out. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Personal family health reasons, whether it's his own. It's widely known, or at least a lot of us know, that John Brown had sickle cell anemia and did not opt out. A lot of these players have comorbidity, whatever that word is, comorbidities. They've got autoimmune issues, things like that we are not privy to. So there's no telling. It could be somebody in his family. Obviously, Tre'Davious White was very close to opting out because of his family, his grandmother, his wife, his kids. We don't know why, and that's his personal reason. It's none of our necessarily business, right? But
before we move on from him, though, The Athletic reported back in March 16th, that Starr Lotulelei is back in the fold for 2021. He's reporting as of March. The Athletic reported. So
in March,
so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's confusing to me that this is even like part of the conversation, that he's talking about retirement or something. So, that's why I asked like where it came from. But yeah, we can move forward. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, that The Athletic has that reported.
I feel like it was on GR. I feel like I was listening to GR on the way to work. I think it was Tuesday, and Jeremy and Sal were talking about it, and somebody just threw out there, "What if he retires?" I think that's where I heard it from. So to be honest with you, I think that's where I got it from. They're not saying that he was going to, but it was more of a, well, what if he retires? Then what? And I think when you talk about Starr's role this year, and I am the one, you and I have talked about it a lot, about 42% of the snaps. And if Starr makes this defense number 3 again, then he's the greatest defensive player ever. Regardless of that stuff, that the ridiculousness of those conversations, it's incredibly important for Ed Oliver for Starr to return.
Right.
Like, Ed has to go back to his natural position. That dude took it on the chin last year and didn't complain once. As much as Bills Mafia beat him up, and we talked about how Ed's a bust and Ed isn't working out and blah, 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 blah. Ed's a baller. And he took that. He literally, I can't play that position, but I'll do it for the team. And he did it and took it on the chin after having a good rookie season. So they're going to have to do something about finding a one technique DT if Star does not show up. But if he is in, that's good. But I'm still on the side of it'd be great to have had him here. So yeah, Emmanuel Sanders. Anything about Emmanuel Sanders getting in here, learning the playbook, learning the players, getting to know Josh. It's funny to me because there was no OTAs last year, and Stephon Diggs doesn't concern me. Stephon Diggs has not shown up for OTAs. I think I saw a report like almost never has ever shown up for OTAs. However, he got traded to the Buffalo Bills last year. What was the first thing he did? Got together with Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. You'd think that there's an aspect for Emmanuel Sanders that would be on his priority list. You know what? I need to show up and meet the guy.
Yeah, but at the same, true, very, very true. I just feel like also we don't. I'm always hesitant to talk about stuff like that because you just don't know what guys have planned in the offseason. And it's like I do know from doing these.
He could be having a kid.
And that's what I'm saying. Like from doing these interviews, I don't do a ton of them. Like not yet. They're coming. But the interviews that I've done, a lot of guys, they look forward to this time, like the off season, because they know it's ramping up for real in a month and a half. They know they're back and they're not with their families. Emmanuel Sanders is coming to a completely new city after being gone to a whole nother new city, so maybe I don't want to, I don't know, but I would like to see him there. I would like the whole team to be there. In years past, when it felt like, hey, we're grown, when we're getting to this place that we're at now, where everybody's excited, it seemed like we were all in. Everybody's there. Now you got a couple people where it's sprinkled and it's not the same. So I don't know.
Real DM3, what's up? My guy from Built in Buffalo says, I don't care if it's voluntary. Star showing up shows he's all in on being part of the 2021 team. He absolutely has something to prove. Does he have something to prove? I don't know that he has something to prove necessarily. I think it's literally, for me, it's just, and I feel that McDermott felt the same way. It would have been nice to get my hands on you, see you with my eyes, right? Get my arms around you, see what shape you're in. I think that's just where I'm at on the whole thing. But
I don't think he has anything to prove. I think it's one of those things where it's like I said, we know who Star is. It's not like we're expecting him to come back and be Aaron Donald,
right.
So it's like he's not a Star. And even with that, he's not a 8-10 sack guy. Like that's not him. So I'm not expecting him to come in and give us anything extra. I just would like to see him. To your point, like just come and show up, man.
What was the number on Emmanuel Sanders? What did he sign for? Was it $1 million or $3 million?
I believe it was 5.
Do you think that there's a world where Emmanuel Sanders does not make this football team?
Yes.
Do you think that world could have been helped for him had he shown up to OTAs?
No, I think at this point, what it comes down to is what I talked about the other day on my show, or Monday on my show with Nate. I think it comes down to, at this point, moving the needle. I don't think we've moved the needle close enough to say that we're going to really compete with Kansas City, or we're going to compete with Tampa. So now I know a lot of people in the comments are going to yell at me when I say this, but hey, if Julio is actually really out there, and there's something that Brandon Beane can work. He has this wizardry. He can figure it out. He always gets draft picks for guys that he shouldn't. He gets, he gets value out of everything. Yeah. So if he can make this thing work and we can get him, I think that's a scenario where we don't see Emmanuel Sanders on this team.
First things first, everybody that can hear my voice. So all of you that are listening or watching now or watching later, whatever it is, you need to go back and listen to or watch Jay Spence's interview with both Nate Geary and Carlos Williams. Compelling conversations. So
Carlos
absolutely fantastic. Carlos was an open book. Book.
Carlos was awesome, man.
Like, holy crap. Go listen to that interview with Carlos Williams. And I loved Special K. He was one. I was so excited for him his rookie season, and that unraveled so fast. And he owned it in that conversation, which was amazing. He said, I did things wrong. I did things I wanted to do. I wanted to smoke weed. I wanted to eat food. I didn't want to work out. Like, he's like, all that was on me. I was like, holy crap. Like, this dude is.
And he even took it away from me. I'm like, I put it on Rex, man, because he was like, well, before Rex got here, his star player was already suspended for 4 games. So how are you gonna put that on Rex? And I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, thanks for this, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, everybody that's listening to me, whether it's right now live or later, go back and watch that Carlos Williams interview and the Nate Geary one. That one was super good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the moment says, I do think he has something to prove. The team went on a championship run last year without him. He has to prove his return will make the team better. That's what he's getting paid for. I disagree with that comment, though. Do you agree or disagree with that comment?
I disagree, because I feel like without him, the defense was a shell of what they were when he was there. So I feel like it's almost one of those things like the defense had something to prove without him, and they didn't prove it.
Yeah. And it goes back to the 42% of the snaps. And it goes back to 2019 when I started my podcast. I was the one mid-season that was bitching, for lack of a better term, about Starr's ineffectiveness, never showing up on the stat sheet. 2020 rolls around, he opts out, and the defense is 21 in the league or 25 in the league. Like, it's awful. And now, I don't know that he's all the reason, but he's definitely part of the reason. I guess we have to ask Bruce. Bruce, if you're out there, are wins a defensive tackle stat? I don't know.
Why are you going to get him riled up, man?
I don't know the answer to that question. I just know that those 42% of the snaps mattered, specifically with a guy like Ed Oliver. They mattered.
Yeah.
Because it made him a lot less effective. So you guys are really active in the chat, which is great. I don't know if you're seeing something in the chat to throw up, please, by all means, throw it up. Either moment says Carlos' version of reality sometimes wasn't in sync with the rest of the world. He's changed.
I don't know. I was going to say, based off of what he said,
he has matured. He would tell you that's true when he was a rookie. He has matured. And he would also tell you that that's because of going to the Steelers. That was a big piece of it too. Because
I love the Steelers piece.
Talk about it.
Yeah, well, first, I'm a fan of Mike Tomlin as a coach. I think that he's, I think he's up there, and he just talked about the difference in culture, and I know, like, obviously, a lot of times in the content creation world, we always like throw it out there. Oh, that's coach talk, that's GM talk. When we're talking about culture, and we're talking about how when they get hired, come in and change the culture. He made a clear distinction when he explained what it was like playing in Buffalo his rookie year as opposed to playing in Pittsburgh. And he said, Mike Tomlin told you, if you weren't about winning, if you weren't trying to win every single rep that you got, you were in the wrong place. And he said he would find people like it was all about business. It was all about business. And it was just refreshing to hear that, man. And he's, like you said, he was so candid, man. It was a great interview.
I love how he likened the Rex regime to, it's amazing, we're playing in the NFL, live it up, this is great. Like, just the excitement and like enjoy every minute and like just take it all in. You're playing in the NFL, you're living the dream. And with Mike Tomlin, it was like 9 o'clock, punch the card, 5 o'clock, punch the card.
Yeah. And you know what? And when we got off the air, we actually kind of made a similar or analogy when we laughed about it. I was saying to him, it's kind of like, being a kid and getting out of your parents' house, you get your first apartment, and it's like, oh man, it's life. It's like, and then you realize what bills are like. But then as an adult, when you buy a house, bills are coming with it. You're happy. So he was happy he was in Pittsburgh. He is happy he's in the NFL, but he knew what the responsibility was that year. It just didn't work out. So no, he matured for sure.
Yeah. So totally sidebar, rabbit trail, but I love it. Richard Rush says, Jay Spence, did you see my comment after the Carlos interview? That was a fire interview. So I don't know if you saw that. I didn't,
man. I appreciate it. I didn't see it. Every time I see it, I try to respond, man.
Yeah. So yeah, if you did not catch it, jump back in and grab it. But so OTAs are interesting to me because it is voluntary. We get to see Josh Allen in shorts and a visor, and you and Nate were big on the visor, and the visor looks great. And it's just funny to me because even when I look at, I don't know how much of the film you paid attention to or looked at, but even when I watch, Josh Allen versus Mitchell Trubisky and the way the ball comes out of their hands, there's just a different life to the arm of Josh Allen than there is to Mitchell Trubisky and everybody else on that football team.
I am absolutely jumping the gun here. Like I'm a 1,000,000,000% being an emotional fan right here. But holy smokes, did Josh Allen look like Brett Favre and Jesus on that field? Like he just looks amazing. Like the ball comes out of his hand like a missile, and then like with the visor, he just looks like the second coming, doesn't it? It just looks like the rapture, and it's like, dude, this is beautiful. I just love Josh, man. I do. But God. the league is on notice. Josh Allen in shorts this year is different.
Are they on notice though? Because I can't remember which one it was. With somebody, Dave, who was in the chat from Built in Buffalo, actually quoted it that somebody's out there. I think it was ESPN or NFL Network. Like, what does Josh Allen have to do to grow in year 4? It's like he has MVP numbers. Like, what more do you want from it? We all agree. We are the guys that criticize, and we agree and believe that he has a higher ceiling and he's got steps that he still can take. But if this is all that Josh Allen ever is, he's going to the Hall of Fame, right?
Dude, I'm calling 5,500 yards for Josh this year.
In 17 games, that's not a big stretch. 17 games makes a big difference.
He didn't get 5,000 this year.
Right, but he was also injured for 4 games, and there's an extra game.
Okay, well, I mean, but I'm calling it now. Like right now, this time of year, I'm calling 5,500 yards. Like, and if he's not MVP, he's runner up again. But I'm calling MVP. Like, honest to God, like the stuff that I'm seeing from Josh, the stuff that I watched last season. So the thing that's so impressive about Josh, that, and I'm not a film dude like everybody. Like I'm not nowhere near as smart as Sterling. Yeah, like I'm not. But what I do see when I watch the film every single week, including the weeks that he got injured, Josh was better.
Yeah, every
single week he was better.
Yeah,
and
it's true,
dude. Even the game that the last game of the season, we didn't lose that game because of Josh Allen.
No.
And I know we lost, and it's like, I don't. You got to give him the blame sometimes when you give him the credit. That's what happens with a quarterback. But we did not lose the AFC Championship game because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen gets better every single week, and it's amazing to me. I'm looking forward this year to seeing, like I said, the combination of Jesus and Brett Favre on that field.
Eli Padilla says, hot take, Josh Allen will throw a 70-yard pass in the air this year. No, I was on somebody's show. I don't remember whose it was. And we were talking about Josh Allen and the fact that Josh Allen just has the ability to take whatever it is. So it was the whole, he can't run to his left and throw the ball. So if he's rolling to his left, if you remember like games 2 and 3, or there was a game in there where he was having trouble because he wasn't getting his hips around,
overthrowing them. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he comes back the next week throwing darts. It's like,
got that.
He worked on that apparently this week.
So then you think about that, and then fast forward to the Colts game that you and I went to. Right. Dude, he threw 2 plays in a row to Davis on different sidelines on the run.
On the run.
Just dimes, man. Like, so what I'm saying is I think that I think last season we really tipped the iceberg with Josh. I think we're going to see something this year that Josh is the most freakishly gifted athlete at quarterback that we've seen in a long time. It's
true. Kosh Kush says, to get respect, Josh will have to grow a pair of Manscaped balls the size of cantaloupes. I have news for you, Kosh Kush. He has them. They're there, my friend. They're there, my friend. So I wanted to transition. I started to transition earlier. I think the most intriguing position this OTAs to include this coming preseason and what's going to happen in the mini camps is wide receiver. And I literally just asked you a question off the cuff about Emmanuel Sanders and his ability to make this football team. Dave said that he's a lock to make the roster. And you said that Emmanuel Sanders is a possibility. He may not make the roster. I'm in agreement with you. There's an intriguing, the depth there is just, there's an interesting amount of depth in that wide receiver room right now. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you first, Emmanuel Sanders, we know who he is. He's an elite route runner. Mm-hmm. He's going to come in here and he's going to do exactly. He's not the same as Beasley, but he's going to do the things Beasley does. He gives you a little bit of what John Brown gave you, but he's not as quick, obviously not as fast, but he's still a very, very good receiver. Mm-hmm. The thing is, when you look at Gabriel Davis's growth, and then you go back and read all the articles that were written last summer about Hodgins and go look at what we had in training camp, the way he was doing stuff out there. It's a deep room. And then we brought back McKenzie. It's tough, man. It's tough.
No,
I could easily see one of those guys not making the roster.
And that Tanner Gentry kid is in there who Josh Allen has chemistry with. And I don't ever underestimate chemistry between a quarterback and a wide receiver.
Never.
Like even when you think about Fitzpatrick showed us that. When some of the guys that Fitzpatrick had weren't exactly great wide receivers, but he had chemistry with them. Who's the guy that we had? Not Donald Jones. Who's the other one? The tall guy that ended up going to the Jets after he was in Buffalo. Loved him, like a 6th-round draft pick. I can't think of his name. Dang it. But yeah, not
the Jets from here.
Yeah, he left here and went to the Jets. But like Fitzpatrick, No, not Powell. No. But Fitzpatrick showed us that like chemistry matters with guys. Like when a quarterback has chemistry with a wide receiver, it's important. And we might see something from Jacob Hollister to that point. because Allen has chemistry with him already kind of built in. But when you look at
David
these,
Nelson.
David Nelson loved, man, did I
Shout
love
out to
David.
Chris Jenke.
Yeah,
Shout out to
Chris Jenke is always on it. Chris Jenke is always on it. He we're just gonna call you a contributor to the show. Contributor Chris Jenke to the Hump Day Hotline.
Did he really just throw out Duke? Come on, man.
What's that? No. He's listed. I think he's listed the guys that are there: Diggs, Beasley, Davis, Hodgins, McKenzie, and then obviously Duke. I don't know that Duke makes this football team.
Duke is not on his roster.
Yeah, I don't think Duke makes this football team either.
Duke doesn't make this practice squad.
So I love this. Are we going to see Hodgins this season? At least on preseason games. So we will definitely see him in the preseason. You brought up the point, which was Hodgins flashed super early before Gabe Davis did last preseason. Well, whatever the preseason was. To where the reporters were like, holy crap, this kid is good. And then he got injured.
Yeah.
So I think this guy makes the team. I can tell you from firsthand knowledge, he's a big boy. And what I mean by that is I stand next to him every week. So you can infer that however you want to infer it in the chat. But I see Isaiah every single week and I stand next to him and I shake his hand, and he's a big boy. I'm 6 feet tall. I look up. He's a big kid. I think this guy's, and he's got great hands. He's got great knowledge of the game. He flashed last year in the limited time that he had. I think there were some people that said that in this OTAs, he was actually making the most of his opportunities, was the way that I read the report. I think this guy's going to make the football team. Yeah. And to me, this is the guy that potentially bumps Emmanuel Sanders off the roster.
Yeah. And you know what? Look, while you're bringing that up, I'm going to look it up now. I don't know how much of Sanders' contract is fully guaranteed. I mean, it's only a 1-year deal, so I'm guessing the whole thing has to be guaranteed.
Yeah. I'm not sure he's 6'4". I know he's 6 foot something, and then with his hair, it's the whole Fletch. I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie Fletch. You know, Fletch is 6'3", 6'6" with the afro. But like he's definitely tall, and then taller because of his hair. But he's a big old boy. He's a good kid. He's a great kid too, which is awesome. Liam, who else plays the same style as Sanders though? That's why I think he makes it. There's something to be said for the route tree. There's something to be said for having two guys on the outside that can run the full tree, which is what the Bills had in a limited capacity with Stephon Diggs and John Brown when John Brown wasn't hurt. I don't know that it's necessary. I don't know that it's necessary to have two guys opposite each other that can run the full route tree. But that's a great point, Liam. Yeah, I love it. Hodgins is said, Richard Rush says Hodgins was said to have the best hands of the draft class. Yes. And I think that the Bills beat reporters would probably agree with that. But I'm excited to see this kid play football because we've not seen anything from him. All we've heard is rumors from last year's camp, and that was it. And then he got hurt.
And just so you guys know, Sanders is just under $6 million this year. So
is that with all of his incentives, or was that his total contract? Like, was that
I'm
guaranteed?
It's tough to find, you know, I'm trying to find like the full details of, you know, let me go to Spot Trick. But yeah, either way, I don't know if I feel that his spot is just a, you know, I don't know if he's just it's competition everywhere on his roster. Well,
Chris Jenke brings up a good point. Hodgins and Stephenson both probably fighting for the last receiver spot. It depends. If Stephenson is listed as a wide receiver, but he is a kick returner, punt returner, it's going to change the game, much like it did for Andre Roberts. There's a great potential that one of these guys are going to end up on a practice squad. If that happens, there's a really good chance we're not going to see either of them in a Bills uniform ever.
And I mean, who knows? Who knows, man? The team might look at it a little bit differently. The team might say, you know what? We want to get younger and faster. So the team might move on from older guys. Who knows? You know, and listen, we got some young guys that, like Joe said, showed flashes, and we saw Gabriel Davis. So obviously he's going to have a bigger role this year.
The question that has to be balanced, right? They've got Stephenson, they've got Gabe Davis, they've got Isaiah Hodgins, they've got Isaiah McKenzie, who they've invested a ton in. 4 still very young guys versus a 1-year player. And that's the question. Do they think they can get the production out of those 4 guys, those 4 young guys, with the knowledge that they're going to grow and they're going to reach their ceiling at some point in time in this regime, versus cutting one of those guys loose or putting them on a practice squad and losing them at some point to keep Emmanuel Sanders around? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
And I'm gonna agree with my man DM3 now. Just looking at his contract, if they cut him, he's a dead cap of 5.9. So
Oh, he's
they're
on the
not.
team.
Yeah, he's on the team. There's no way they're gonna. I was thinking in terms of if his contract wasn't fully a full hit.
Right.
Then I'm saying like, yeah, no, he could go. No, I'm with my man DM3 there. Sorry, dude. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's funny. Yeah, that's that does change things a little bit. It's like Star. So if Star plays the next 2 football years, like he does not retire, he's on the Buffalo Bills roster.
Yeah, he's on the roster.
21 million, 22 million. He's here. He's not going anywhere.
Yep.
But good point. Heaven forbid an injury in camp or preseason changes everything. And that's what it did for Isaiah Hodgins last year. He had that shoulder injury and had to have surgery, and then ended up being isolated from the team, for lack of a better term. Davis has been working with Diggs, so he's probably close to the full route tree. I don't know how to answer that question. Some guys get it and some guys don't. I don't think there's a measure of, hey, I've been working with Jerry Rice, now I'm as good as Jerry Rice. Like Jerry Rice is Jerry Rice. Stephon Diggs is Stephon Diggs. Is it possible Gabriel Davis has learned a lot? Yes. Does he know the full route tree? Man, Diggs is just another human, like Beasley.
Diggs is different, yeah.
As is Beasley. Their feet are just different. Things are just different. So, yeah, I don't know the answer to this question, Richard Rush. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Stevens a body catcher and not a hands catcher?
That I wouldn't know. The thing that I was attracted to when watching Stephenson's tape was his return ability. I didn't watch much about his catching. I think that if he makes his roster, it's special teams. He's gonna be returning punts. If the guy is incredible. If you haven't gotten a chance to go and watch his film, go on YouTube after we're off of this and check him out, man. He's incredible. That's the reason why. So again, we're talking about Emmanuel Sanders. My man Isaiah McKenzie, is he a lock? Because the thing is, last year, and I know he went and tweeted, when Brother Bill went out there and joked about him, or whatever. But he, I know he had the touchdowns that he had on the type of plays that we put him in there for offensively. But if he can't somehow carve out a larger role in this, I don't want to just say the offense, but on the team,
jet sweeps.
I don't know.
Jet sweeps.
I don't know if the team can afford at this point, with what the goal is, how they're trying to construct this roster. I don't know if we can afford a luxury like a gadget player.
It's actually twofold. And you just used a great term, gadget player, because he is literally the guy. He's become the guy that a lot of people are complaining about with Andre Roberts, even though they were wrong about Andre Roberts, because yes, there's room for a punt returner, kick returner that can give you the field position potential that he gives you. When you're talking about a gadget player, Isaiah McKenzie, and the twofold part of it is 2019, he was a machine on those jet sweeps. Yes. Nobody could stop him. 2020, defense is caught up. And Dable's got to do something a little different. Dable's got to disguise it better. He's got to show a different look. He's got to figure out a different way to throw it in there. The good news is for Isaiah McKenzie is when Diggs came off the field against the Dolphins, the kid took over. The kid took that football game over. Like
he did. He did 100%. But the thing that the thing I'm concerned about, and for the record, when I say gadget player, it's not a negative thing. I think that, first of all, what do you have? 9 touchdowns last year, or 8 touchdowns, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So it's not an indictment. I'm not saying anything negative. I just think you want to have a guy. If you have a guy that can do the punt return stuff and give you 700 yards receiving, 800 yards receiving, the team would opt for that, as opposed to just signing him only for jet sweeps, because there's more value in being able to have more. That's what I'm saying. But
and there's a reality. There's a reality to the idea, notion, concept, whatever thought you have, that when you're the gadget guy doing jet sweeps because you're the fastest player on offense, and then you bring in Matt Breida,
who also can possibly return. So there's competition, and this is what I was saying about Emmanuel Sanders earlier, but there's competition everywhere on this roster. Nobody has a gimme this year, unless and obviously Josh Allen does, Stephon Diggs does, but there's certain guys, but when you're talking about after the top 3 or 4 guys on the roster, like the core guys, there's no walk on. You got to work every day in practice this year. It's gonna be fun.
To bring it a little, not full circle, but to bring the circle around, that was one of the things that Carlos Williams said as well, is that when he went to Mike Tomlin and he went to the Steelers, It was very much business-like, which is what the Bills have now in McDermott. You bring your lunch pail, you punch in at 9, you punch out at 5, you make sure all your work is done, and then you rest when you go home. Like, there is no monkey business. There is no fun. There's no pool tables. There's no video games. There's no pinball or ping pong tables. It's work. We're here to work. We're here to win. That's what we do. And the proof is in the pudding when you look at a guy like Mike Tomlin. So, and especially when you look at what it did for Carlos. You almost have to wonder if Carlos goes to the Steelers in his rookie year, is he still playing in the NFL at a high level, right? Versus going to the Bills and it be under, players coach Rex Ryan. It's very aloof. And if you want to smoke weed, do whatever you want to do, eat some food. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to wonder if his roadmap is a little bit different. But I love this from Chris Jenke. My only concern if Star opts out again is if we didn't really invest in another one tech. This is a great point. The fact that the McDermott defense is dependent upon a strong space eater, one tech defensive tackle. He has one on this football team.
If Star opts out, I seriously doubt that Brandon Beane does not make some sort of move. There will be a trade made. They will not go through last season again.
But it's even, I'm not saying that there's a lot of great Tech 1 DTs out there, but do you have a developmental one somewhere on the roster?
I promise you, they will not go through last season again. Well, there will be.
There's a report of them bringing in the Smart Smalley. Who's the guy from Carolina? Chris Jenke, help me out because you're the contributor to the show. Who's the guy that's being linked now to the Bills after June 1? So after June 1, they're talking about the Bills signing another one tech DT from Carolina. It's either Smart or Smalley or something like that. But so yes, I think there's a link that they're going to be bringing a guy in. But you would think, right there, Kawan Short, my guy. Can we all just give it up? Can we just give it up in the chat for the real Chris Jenke for a moment? Like, this dude is on.
Chris Jenke is the man. I wouldn't be mad about Kawan Short.
I talk about Brian Bowers having his own show all the time. Chris, you're right there with him. Like, you and Brian should both have a show. Maybe you guys should get together and do a show. But yeah, they're talking about Kawan Short being linked to Buffalo. So yeah, I just don't understand how you do not have a developmental one tech defensive tackle on this roster anywhere in 2 years.
I agree with you, but I feel like they felt like, again, they felt that their window was a certain, and they wanted to invest the way they did. And I tell you what, though, I see Kawan Short to be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if it happens, but yes, it will be fun.
That'll be fun.
We've got about 15 minutes left. Do we want to go there? Do we want to talk about Julio Jones?
We can.
It was funny to me because, and I know you did not get an opportunity to listen to my podcast from Sunday.
Right. Sorry,
Monday. I recorded it Saturday because I was celebrating my anniversary with my wife on Sunday night.
I'm a bad friend this week. I'm sorry.
You're fine. No, I'm good with it. Yeah, I don't have an expectation of anybody listening to my podcast ever. Like, literally. Sometimes I wonder why people listen. But for me, when it came to Julio, I had different takes and different angles, but they very much were the same as yours as it pertained to Julio. And I think you landed in a place of, you feel that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you feel that Julio Jones does get us closer to beating Kansas City, whereas I don't think he does.
Okay, and that's fair. Now, I will also say, because I haven't actually said it, I'm not saying I want the Buffalo Bills to go and get Julio Jones. I'm not a fan of trading for him with the amount of things that we have to give up and the amount of money that he will cost, even after I'm sure there's going to be some sort of restructure.
Yeah.
I still think it's a luxury that we might not be able to afford. I think it's too expensive. But if we were to get him, there's no way in the world I'm upset that we got Julio Jones on the opposite side of Stephon Diggs.
I agree. I would never be upset. So and that's what I started my pod with. I love Julio Jones. I'm in a 3-man keeper league, fantasy football, been in it since 1994. Julio was my keeper. I love Julio. And I'm literally at the point of thinking about letting Julio go this year because his production has dropped and dipped a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't want to hang on too long, right? So you let him go and kind of keep a DK Metcalf, who's also on my football team. But for me, I would not be upset with Julio Jones coming to this football team at all. I would be excited. I like Julio Jones a lot. But we lived in a world, and I'm looking for a hashtag from the comment section. We lived in a world this past season, right? We lived in a land, if you will. That's another hint. If somebody wants to throw it out there, hashtag a land that we lived in with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. And I think that there's this conception or notion that somehow if we go get Julio Jones, and it's going to have the same exact impact that Stephon Diggs had on this roster, that like, you know, we got Stephon Diggs and like, oh my gosh, Josh Allen like turned into this machine. There it is. Wildest Dreams land. We lived in wildest dreams land with Stephon Diggs. I don't know that we're running it back with Julio Jones. If Julio Jones shows up and all of a sudden Josh Allen is the MVP, I don't know that he adds that much. If we had Gabe Davis, John Brown, Isaiah Hodgins, Cole Beasley, and then added Julio, I think you get that effect. I don't know that if you've got Stephon, that Julio brings that same energy level, that same production level, that same
I disagree.
Boost, that juice to the system.
I disagree. I don't know. And when I say this, because I have to preface this question a certain way. Mm-hmm. I am not being offensive. I'm literally asking a question.
Sure.
How much Julio Jones do you watch?
A lot. I just told you he's a keeper on my football team.
I'm not talking about stats though. I'm saying like how much Julio Jones
every chance I get. You made a point which was absolutely correct. When Julio Jones is healthy, and maybe when he's not healthy, he is probably the best receiver in the NFL.
Right.
But he also was on a football team where Calvin Ridley outplayed him last year.
Well, I mean, Calvin Ridley is a stud. So I'm not going to take nothing from him. But we know last year was the one true year that if you want to point to Julio Jones with injuries, it was last year. His hamstring wasn't what it was supposed to be. People say he's injury prone. He's not. He's played the majority of his career. He's barely missed games. Last season was the season.
As a fantasy owner, I would beg to differ.
No, but he doesn't. Go back and look. He's always on the injury report, and you're always like, is he going to play? Is he not? Just like Tom Brady in New England, he was every single week. He was on the injury report with a shoulder or elbow, but he played every week. He threw 4 touchdowns and 300 yards. So the thing with Julio, dude, Julio being Julio and Steph being Steph, there's no defense for that. There is no defense for that. There's no way you can double team either guy. You bring in now. This really will unlock Dawson Knox. There's no way that he should not take a step. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I got to do my Dawson Knox impression.
but there's no way. And then you talk about the run game. There's no way that they could ever stack any type of. Now you talk about lanes and holes for the running backs to go through. It's impossible. It's impossible, man.
You say that, but like it's I don't remember if it was Tom Sitt, if it was Bruce who said it, but somebody said that like Singletary and Moss faced some of the lightest boxes of any team in the league this year. How much lighter can they get?
A whole lot lighter if you got Julio Jones.
The freaking Patriots. The Patriots played 7 defensive backs against the Bills, and Singletary and Moss, neither of them had 100 yards that game.
They didn't run the ball for 100 yards. Like the Bills, that was the game plan.
When they tried, it didn't work.
But see, and I was, I'm one of the guys who pound the table for a more efficient run game. Mm-hmm. But the Buffalo Bills didn't have an ineffective, like it wasn't horrible. So it's like when we're saying like they didn't have, but that was the offense. They did what everybody wanted them to do. They threw it.
It's funny how we flipped. You and I flipped on this topic because like week 5, 6, somewhere around there last year, I was the guy that was like, just throw the football. Don't run it. And you were like, gotta have a running back. And I'm like, just throw it. And now we've
I still want to throw it. No, I still want to throw it. I just wanted them to be better. But when you're looking at the stats, like they weren't, I was looking for, I'm used to the Bills having a Shady. Or before a Shady, I'm used to we typically always have a running back that rushes for at least 850, 900 yards. Like we have typically a pretty close to 1,000-yard rusher. So that's what I'm used to. Our leading rusher was Singletary with was 687.
It was a bizarre
So
world for sure. Normally we have a dominant running back, Travis Henry, Willis McGahee, name a guy, Fred Jackson, right? Marshawn Lynch, and we don't have a quarterback. Now we've got like one of the best quarterbacks.
And that was the thing. Like I'm also
back.
not used to 4,500 yards in the air. Like I'm just not used to that. So I'm sitting here used to, no, we got to learn it. We got to run it. So like there's an argument on both sides. But when you look at it, the stats weren't horrible for as a team, you know.
Right.
So I'm not like saying that we got to have it. But dude, if you have, again, I'm not even saying we got to trade for him.
Yeah.
But if you do, dude, I'm telling you, the offense is historically great.
Agreed.
Historically great.
No, I agree. I'm there. We are a pass first offense, and if the Bills try to become a run first offense, I'm going to rip what little bit of hair I have left out. Richard Rush says Joe Winters missed blocks, so we had 4 offensive linemen. I would go one step further and tell you that he collapsed or allowed his side of the offensive line to be collapsed so much that he provided them a 5th defensive lineman, whatever team we were playing. Like, it was bad. The amount of times you saw him wipe out Darrell Williams or wipe out Mitch Morse next to him because he got housed completely. And you get to see him this year. Lucky you.
Yeah, I do.
He's an Arizona Cardinal. I don't know how that dude's still in football. So Chris Jenke coming with the facts. The first Pats game at home, the Zimmer punch-out game, Singletary and Moss both had 90 yards rushing. That was their best running game all year. The game plan was clearly to run the football.
So for the season, they have 411 rushes and they average 4.2 yards a carry. Now we're obviously
that's not awful.
Josh Allen's. No, it's not awful, but I mean we're adding in you have to, because like for the full season it was, I'm just looking at the team stats. So it's 411 rushes, 4.2. I'll try to break this down and look it up for the running backs. But I do know that the average that the running backs had, it wasn't horrible, man.
Yeah. So Teray Dill 32 says, ideally, what's the average amount of runs a game either of you guys see? I don't want to see a ton of imbalance. So that's not what I'm saying. There's a difference between, and I'll go first because I'm already talking. There's a big difference between pass first and in like unbalanced offense. Pass first is different than unbalanced offense. So you're setting up the pass, or you're using the pass to set up the run versus using the run to set up the pass. So it's just a little bit of a different mindset. So 60-40, right? 65-35, 70-30 in an extreme time. Where are you at? 60-40 pass. High number ball pass.
Having Josh, I this year I would like us to be 70-30. I would like us to be 70-30. I don't want to run more. I just want to be better. So
well, this is the point. Eli Padilla says that I'm fine with Moss and Devin rushing for 80 to 90 yards as long as they are effective yards and not garbage stats. That's the problem, is they were not when we needed yards on the ground out until the Niners game, right? Was when they finally closed out a game.
Yeah.
Everything changed in that Niners game. That was when the ground game came to life and they put the game away. Right.
And you know what? And let me see who just said it too, because somebody just said, Richard just said it. The Dolphins game boosted the runs. He's probably right. I didn't even think about that. The last game of the season. He's probably right. That game was, you know what? So I take all that back. I apologize, guys.
I love this from Chris Jenke. There's a difference between pass first and we can only pass first. And that's absolutely true. The Bills 100%. Were not in a position or a situation last year. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and you may remember differently than I do. I don't remember the Bills being in a situation where on first down they wanted to run, they were successful. 5 yards, 6 yards.
The only time I can remember was in the playoffs at home when I was there with you, and we ran it on first down, and we gained 7 yards on first down, and we're like, "Oh, that's nice." And then they run it on second down, and they get 2 yards, and it's 3rd and 1, and then we get stopped on third.
I remember that.
That's the only time I remember us being successful at first like that. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So where are we landing on Julio? Where's the comment section at on Julio? Julio, yes. So thumbs up, thumbs down. Julio Jones. I'm a thumbs down. For me, I would much rather like to see them go after somebody that's going to be somebody that's going to bring that linebacking core and that cornerback group, that defensive backfield to life. Get me somebody in the defensive line. I think that gets us closer to Kansas City than Julio Jones.
Yeah. No, well, I'm indifferent. I feel like, if if he's here, I'm happy. Like when I tell you I'm happy, I'm buying a Jones jersey. Like as soon as they announce the trade, I'm custom ordering it. Like it's happening. If they don't, I'm not losing sleep. Like I'm still happy that we have Stephon Diggs. I'm happy that we got second team All Pro Cole Beasley and the second year Gabriel Davis. So I'm happy with my team.
Yeah, it's. I think we're all pretty much in the same place. We have needs elsewhere. Would have been a discussion 2 years ago. Exactly. It's funny because when you talk about wildest dreams land, the fact that Julio Jones, wants to go to a winner and a quarterback that can throw the football, and here we are potentially one of those football teams. Think about that for a second.
Right. It's such a weird place to be in. Like being out here, like I go places and people obviously like my mask is normally a Bills mask or whatever.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, Bills fan. Oh, Bills are man." And the way they talk to me this year is just like, it's so different. I'm not used to this, man. Like I'm used to it being like, "Are you a Bills fan?" My bad. Like that's what I'm used to. It's not like that. It's so different.
First things first, Bills Mafia STF. Imagine having to cover Julio, Diggs, Cole, Davis, Sanders. One of those guys is not on this football team on Sunday. So maybe they are. I just can't imagine if Julio comes in. I can't imagine seeing Sanders still here. But at that cap number,
yeah, maybe. No, with that cap number, I do. I do. I see, and I see them at that point probably getting rid of McKenzie.
Right. Or yeah, I can't imagine one of the you yawned and now I'm yawning. What are you doing to me over here? That's fun. It's not. It was like 5 minutes ago. I just remember it's like, man, we're both yawning up in here. I had the hiccups earlier. I just ate dinner, so Beth got home late from work, so we had dinner late. So it was like, I come down here and I'm like, got the hiccups. So it is what it is. Jones makes a difference. We don't need him, but we would be unstoppable. Unstoppable? You still got to play defense. Dude, you're telling me in a shootout situation with Pat Mahomes, I just don't like it. Got to play defense.
Here's the thing, Joe, and maybe this is the major difference too, because in the comments and you kind of say some things too. I don't think our defense is nearly as bad as I think last year was an off year. We had injuries. I feel like Star opted out. It wasn't the same type of team.
Agreed.
I think we're closer to a top 5, top 7 defense than we are a 15, 14.
Yeah.
So if we're playing top 7 defense and then you add a freaking Julio Jones to this offense, we're unstoppable, man. Right. We're unstoppable.
Chris pointed me back to this comment. I believe this is when he was talking about the Steelers game. The Bills got the ball with 7+ minutes left, and the Steelers didn't touch the ball again. That's when I want to. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and we just don't have that consistently with the guys that we have.
The Rams game is the example. We're up by 25 points. Cannot run the football.
It was frustrating.
Cannot run the football. 3 and out, they score a touchdown. 3 and out, they score a touchdown. And I'm not saying that's exactly 3 and out, but 3 and out, they score a touchdown. 28 points later, they've got the lead, right? I mean,
that was such a frustrating game,
right?
And I mean, I was confident that game. I knew we would win, or I felt like we would win, but man, it was just so frustrating. It was so frustrating. And Ryan's right. When I said, they get rid of McKenzie in that situation, it did break my heart. I love that dude, man. I feel like if you're a Bills fan, it's really tough to not love Isaiah McKenzie. He's probably, if he's not the coolest dude, Deion Dawkins might be close, but it's really tough not to love Isaiah. Like it's tough.
This is break this down for me. And I'm not saying it's not true. A lot easier to run effectively with Julio too. I just said Singletary and Moss faced some of the lightest boxes in the NFL, and they were ineffective. How much lighter can the box get?
Okay, so they had to respect Diggs like that. On the other side, they didn't have to respect. Now, we had Brown for half the season. We had Davis. They weren't respecting Davis like that all year. You get 2 guys, you get 2 Diggs. It's a completely different defense that you're playing. There's no way that they're pressing. There's no way that they're doubling. It's none of that is happening. It's every single person who touches the ball has an opportunity. If you beat the guy in front of you, you can make a big play because there's no way they're going to be able to double any of you. And that's what happens when you get. And Julio is a big dude. He will block for his running back. Go ahead.
point of record or point of whatever they say in court, Richard Rush. So this goes with what you're saying, Joe. We jumped ahead of Casey in the playoffs. It's true. It was 9-3, whatever it was. With Joe, the kiss of death, the dreaded missed extra point. With Jones, we keep scoring. It's not true. The reason the Bills did not keep scoring in that football game, and to your point, is because they began to rush the crap out of Allen, and he couldn't get the ball out. He was running for his life early.
True, but they had. You're right. So to your point, they were rushing. He couldn't get the ball out. You got Julio there. I don't think they have the ability to put the same amount of pressure on there because you're not able to send 6 guys. You're not able to because you want to make sure you have enough guys back there. I'm telling you, dude, if you get Julio, Diggs, and Beasley on the same field, damn it, I'm moving back to Buffalo. Not literally, but you get what I'm saying? Like that's
you are a liar,
I know. I just said not literally. I just said not literally. But what I'm saying is like that's a fun dude. You talk about Madden. That's Madden in real life. There's no offense you're gonna see. We have not seen an offense like that, including the Kansas City offense that we've seen. Sammy Watkins isn't Julio Jones. Tyreek Hill is not Stephon Diggs. He's very good. Julio Jones and Stephon Diggs, you possibly have 2 of the top 5 receivers on the same roster with probably the 3rd best quarterback in the league right now. And then you have the best slot receiver in the league right now.
I'm not saying that I don't want to see it. I'm just saying I'm not sure.
It's historic, man. It's what aren't you sure about? Now I'm talking myself into it. I'm on the Julio train. Like what are you not like, dude? I just thought about it. What do you not see? Like
you got to play defense.
Joe.
You got to play defense.
But we have
defense.
But we have a defense that 2 years ago was 4th in the league. Last year we had injuries. We're consistent there. We've been able to maintain that roster. So do you believe that our defense is what we were 2 years ago when Star comes back, or do you think our defense was what we saw last year?
I don't know what this defense is.
I believe our defense is 2 years ago. And if you believe our defense is 2 years ago, and then you look at our offense and say, if we can add a Julio, I'm telling you, man, it's historic.
This is great. Eli says, and Eli, by the way, I don't know that I've seen you in our chat section before, so thank you so much for being a part of the show. Real question is why we're talking about Julio making us better and not getting a better O-line. You protect Allen, you don't need Julio. He can get it done without Julio. First of all, this offensive line they're going to truck out this year has never played together. So that's a big piece, but they're going to be better.
The offensive line that did play together, we didn't have a bad offensive line last year. I know early on we had issues, but no, I know you're making, I know, but no, that's why I said early on we had the Brian Winters thing. But they gelled together very well. Towards the end of the season, there were a few times that I remember on broadcast, the announcers even commenting like, man, I've never seen somebody so comfortable in the pocket. Josh is standing flat-footed like he's done it a couple times.
It was the Thanksgiving game against the Dallas Cowboys the first time he did it, where he just froze and just stood there. And
but then last season, we saw it a couple times.
It was like the Matrix. Like time just stood still. He stopped.
The TV froze.
It was like, and the camera just kind of went around him, and it was like, what is he doing? And then he threw that dart.
And it was like that. It wasn't like that, obviously, the AFC Championship, because those guys, they just sent it. But no, they protected Josh. If you go back and watch the second half of the season, they look good. So I'm actually very excited about the offensive line we're throwing out there. I'm excited about the development of Spencer Brown. I think when Spencer gets on that line, I think I guarantee you, I don't know how it's going to work out, but when he gets there and we still have a Darrell Williams and we're able to move around, hopefully, I don't want to say hopefully, but once Cody Ford either plays better or ends up not being on the roster, then I'm telling you, it will be a whole lot more dominating.
Well, we've been on this thing for an hour and 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Got anything else for us, Jay Spence? You've got a lot of energy tonight.
No, you just got me hyped up there with Julio. Like that just did it. But Friday, if you guys aren't doing anything, hang out with me. It'll be at 8:00 Eastern, not 9:00 like normal. It'll be 8:00. I'm gonna be going live with Antonio Williams of the Buffalo Bills. He's gonna be joining me live on the Code of Conduct. Another special episode. Think would it be in the summertime like this and not as much news to talk about? I figured we just kind of get some more guests on and start talking about some fun things and let you guys have a good interaction live with these players. So join us, and Antonio Williams is going to give us a good Q&A. We're going to be on there for a full hour. So please join us. Awesome. And I have Joe Marino on Sunday night on the Overreaction podcast. Nice. Episode 2 of our season breakdown based on quarterbacks, major additions and subtractions,
and then home field advantage, who has home field. We're not picking winners of the games. Joe did not want to commit to that, but we are picking most likely, like should win, could be difficult. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then we'll leave you guys one more time with this. Jay Spence and I are trying to start an app radio station, a commercial free in Buffalo. If you're interested in that, go over to overreactionsports.com. Check it out. Get all the knowledge there. But with that, this has been a fun show, dude. Like we were in Perino last week, and then we missed a week, right? So, dude, it's just great to have Bills news to talk about. This job is so hard when there's something to talk about.
I can't wait for the season. It's going to be really fun during this. This year is going to be fun. Last year was fun. It was fun, but this year is really because now we expect it. Right. So it's coming from a different angle, man. So it's going to be fun.
That means the fall is even higher, right? If it doesn't go up.
The heartbreak is going to be bad if we don't get there, but I think we'll get there. I do think last year, I have receipts, man. Like I kept saying that this year was our year. Like, so I actually felt like we were a year ahead of schedule last year. Mm-hmm. Trading for Diggs put us ahead of the schedule. I thought this year, the way the development was going to go for the players that we did bring in and that we had previously, I thought this was the year. So I'm sticking to that. I think what we did see from Josh Allen and now the hunger, the pain from that loss. So seeing Stephon Diggs on the field like this and all of that, I think this year you're going to see a completely different team. They're going to come out and they're going to come out looking to punch people in the mouth. So I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have some fun.
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Multicast Network. I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. That's my other co-host.
I'm Jay Spence the King, and you can find me on Twitter at Jay Spence the King.
And it is so good to always have you guys with us, but for lack of a better thing, this is the end of the show, and we're glad you guys hung out with us and spent some time with us. Do us a favor, wherever this finds you, find some friends, bring them along with you next week. Let them know that the Hump Day Hotline is something they need to be tuning into and paying attention to. But for me, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Talk to you guys later.